From the ordinary eye, looking at this piece, it looks like any other image. But no, this image is 3D. I wanted to find out what makes an image, what are the components of an image, and find out how they're compiled. I also wanted to find out if people had the chance to interact with this image, how could they? Most of my research came from the exhibition Decode at the V&A Museum in London. There they had quite a few installations which I could take note of. I was watching out for which technologies people enjoyed and communicated more to. It was a really interesting day out and very inspiring. This piece being played, one of the exhibits at Decode, gave me in essence the idea to start looking at Photoshop and how it compiles layers to form an image. Just in the way this image twirls, starts off very basic and then becomes much more detailed. I also looked into an installation that Adobe did in Union Square in New York. As a massive creative company, it was interesting to see how they put their message across and how it would be perceived. After research, the basis of my idea would come from how Adobe Photoshop in essence compiles layers to form an image. After looking at Photoshop and its many functions, I decided to take the program and make it into reality. I wanted to see how people could react to this. I then started to design a concept that from the front the image looked 2D and plain, but from the side the image was staggered from the different layers that made up the image, as seen here. With this layered image, I had ideas that people would be able to walk around the different layers and be part of the background image. I then started to design different themes for my piece. I had quite a good idea of where the concept was going, but I needed a theme. Even though I had made some rough designs, I could not see how people could interact with them. I then thought to myself, I need a certain theme that people find interesting. I started looking at images to do a tourism, looking specifically at icons around London and Bournemouth. I had this idea that people could interact with the image from maybe being green screened into, say, a film poster, newspaper or something quite amusing. I started looking at MaxMSP, a piece of visual programming software. Here I tried to teach myself the basics of how I would make my installation interactive for the public. Using the tutorials and forums, I was able to get a camera to take an image every 3 seconds. This was then randomly sent to 2 different images which people would then be part of. I did have another idea in the background. Instead of using MaxMSP, projecting onto different layers, I had this idea that the image could be partly real. For instance, if the image was based at Bournemouth Beach, then in the foreground people could be snapped by the camera playing with real sand. Needless to say, I still carried on with my projection idea. I changed my theme of tourism as the images did not look right and I didn't think it was an interesting subject for people to look around. I started practicing projecting photos from my own personal collection. I then quickly moved into an interesting subject of personal space, looking at bedrooms. After taking a photo of my housemate's bedroom, seeing how interesting and busy it looked, I knew I had my finished design. By using the monitor, that would be the portal for adding people into the image. This would be done using MaxMSP. Now I've shown you the main research and development throughout my project, I'd like to show you the final piece.